Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1619. The topic is nutrition, and the title is, Can You Build Muscle While Using Intermittent Fasting? Awesome. I love these kind of questions. Love this stuff. So, a listener email. This is somebody who actually just recently became a client. So they said, I recently signed up for your live monthly programming service and read through the nutrition information provided. I have been tracking my calories and protein as you suggested. However, I don't follow the distribution concept you described. I've been using intermittent fasting for years to lose body fat, and it worked. I went from 245 pounds and am now 185 pounds. Holy crap. Huge progress there. 60 pounds. But I feel small and weak. Well, that's a bummer. So we'll fix that. We will. I signed up for your power building program to add muscle and strength back, but I wanted to ask if you thought the intermittent fasting diet, but with a caloric surplus, would work for my new goals. I still want to stay lean. Could I use intermittent fasting? It fits my work and life schedule, and I like it, so I want to keep it. But I didn't want to miss out on the benefits of the power building program. Okay, so what are my thoughts? This will be fun. So the typical distribution that I recommend. So in the power building programming, any program you get on our live monthly programming, you get brand new programming every 4 weeks. But within that, you also get, technique advice, how to manage stretching, small acute annoyances in your joints if you get any, and then also including nutrition information. So there's information about how to set up your own nutrition program, which actually now you can access for free on our website if you'd like. So www.brutalirongym.com, you click on the free nutrition education link, and the very first thing you see is create your own nutrition program, and it's a document that you can view or print. And it contains supporting podcasts with a summary of information and then how you can kind of create your own nutrition program. So it tells you to get calories in check and accurate to your needs, protein in check and accurate to your needs. And then the next thing is distribution. So the type of distribution, which just means when do you have your calories and protein? The distribution I typically start with recommendation wise is what I just refer to as thirds. So you divide your day into 3 5 to 6 hour blocks. That pretty much covers the time that you're awake, plus or minus an hour or two here or there. So the idea is the first 5 to 6 hours of the day, you have 1/3 of your calories and protein. The second 5 to 6 hours of the day, you have your 1/3 of your calories and protein. Then the final 5 to 6 hours, the final third of the day, you have the final third of your calories and protein. So it kind of gets it to be a little more spread out throughout the day than what most people do. Most people undereat during the day and they overeat at night. That's just common. Not everybody, but really common. Really common. So I'm trying to get people to get away from that. Now, when I get into more advanced clients, like people who compete in aesthetics, maybe powerlifting, strength sports, and stuff like that, we start to get a little more pinpointed because we want more just outcome for our effort. If they're going to train their butt off, they want to be absolute best they can be. And there is a better way to do it than just the thirds. So the next structure, the more advanced structure, is half, quarter, quarter. I'm not very creative with my naming, but is in the third of the day that you have your workout. Okay, if you work out in the morning, that's the first third. If you work out midday, that's the second third of the day, the second 5 to 6 hours. If you work out in the evening, then that would be the last 5 to 6 hours, right? So if you break your day into thirds, whichever third that you weight train in, that you do your weight training, you would have half of your calories and protein. And then in the other thirds, the other two sections of the day, you would have a quarter and a quarter. So 25% of your calories and protein, 25% of your calories and protein. If somebody doesn't train that day, then you go back to thirds. So on training days, half, quarter, quarter, non-training day, thirds. Now, the idea behind all this, why do I do that? Why is that my recommendation? Well, it's because it's just how the body works. I don't make up the rules. So protein synthesis, which is muscle creation, basically, that's what we're going to look at it, consider it for today's podcast. So protein synthesis, which is when you take protein and you turn it into muscle mass. That is a 24/7, all the time process. Always. So when I did my master's in nutrition, this is what I focused on for my thesis and what I did like the bulk of my work with. So stupid amount of research and all that stuff. And basically what I found out, it was like after workouts, eat more. So a little depressing in the sense of how simple the result was. But it was really awesome because it made me understand all the ways that the body works, and how this advice that I already knew was good really truly is freaking good. It is the way to do it. So there is no way to store dietary protein in our body. If I eat excessive carbohydrates, our body stores it as glycogen in our muscle tissue. If we eat excessive dietary fat, it kind of turns into body fat. So almost like 98% of whatever, it's around like 98%-ish, I don't know. Really high percentage. We'll just go with that because there's a little bit of caveats. But a really high percentage of our dietary fat is what turns into body fat. So they've done studies where they give like markers onto certain molecules, and then they see what happens as that molecule goes through the digestion process, and they find that an enormous amount of excessive dietary fat, if there's excessive calories overall, the body turns the fat into body fat. So there are ways in which, I'm getting way off track, but there's ways to store carbohydrates and fats if you eat them in excess. With protein, there is no way. Your body doesn't store excessive protein. You would say like, oh, well, your muscles are protein, so, doesn't it store it that way? Not really. One of the statement that I heard Lane Norton say, which I really liked, is he said that's like trying to say that you're storing extra wood is your house. So if you're like, somebody's like, oh, do you have any extra wood in for the fireplace? You're like, oh yeah, I have my house. You would not rip your house apart to light a fire in the backyard for the family, right? So you don't want to rip muscle tissue apart to say, okay, yeah, now I have muscle protein available. So muscle is made from protein, but that's not a way to like store protein. Like you don't want to rip that back apart. Like once you have it, you want to leave it alone, right? So there is no storage for dietary protein. And since when we have muscle tissue damage present, our body is trying to repair, if not build upon that tissue, 24/7. Literally every second of the day, it is going to try to repair and grow that tissue. Since there isn't a way for us to store excessive dietary protein, we would need to be eating protein at the rate in which our body's digesting it, so that way there's always available protein within the bloodstream. So what this means is the more often you eat, the more often there's available protein in the bloodstream. So in general, it's a good idea to distribute your protein evenly throughout the day, kind of evenly. Like we said, you might want to better match it with the half, quarter thing. But the idea is if you eat some protein throughout the day, that's the best way to take advantage of protein synthesis. So just kind of a general rule. If our body's always wanting, so like for example, if I have workers at a job site and I'm trying to build a house, and the workers are supposed to be there from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So like maybe, 9 to 5. There you go, 9 to 5. I won't be a jerk and make them work an extra hour. But say they're working from 9 to 5. If I bring them we're making a brick house. Let's say that we're making a brick house. If I bring them 1,000 bricks at 9 a.m. and they're done with those bricks by 11, but I don't bring another shipment of bricks in until 1 p.m., so I only deliver bricks at 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Well, if they get through the first delivery of bricks in 2 hours at 11 o'clock, but I don't bring any more bricks till 1, they're just sitting around doing nothing for 2 hours, right? They're just going to sit there and do nothing. And then when they get the next set of bricks, they can use that from 1 to 3, but then they sit from 3 to 5 doing nothing. So although it was a 9 to 5 hour time frame, 8 hours, I only got 4 hours of usefulness out of them. Whereas if I deliver the bricks every 2 hours, all of a sudden I get all 8 hours worth of work. Well, our body's the same thing. If I have muscle tissue damage present and I give it some protein, it's going to go, awesome, great, here we go. I'm going to build up the tissue, and then all of a sudden the protein's gone. Well, if I give it more protein right away, it goes back and continues to build the muscle. If I don't give the protein right away, it sits around waiting for something to do. It's just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting until we eat again. So it makes 100% sense with the way that the body works to provide protein as frequently to the body as possible. Right? Now, why do we also want to do it like frequency is it allows you to control your total amount of calories, the amounts of carbs and fats that are coming with that protein. You do want to have enough glucose, enough energy to provide for the building process. So those workers can't build a brick if you never, like brick house, if you never feed them. You got to feed them. They got to have something to eat, right? So they can only work a day or two, and if you don't feed them, they're going to quit or die. So we have to fuel the process of building muscle tissue. So protein is what our muscles are made of, but how does our body have the energy to make it? Well, that's where like calories from carbs and fats come in, is it gives our body the energy to do that, along with all the other things we have to do. The more often you eat, the more you can control little deficits and surpluses throughout the day. You have a more accurate way to infuse calories to the body that matches its needs. So there's less deficits, less surpluses, there's more consistency, therefore you have better body composition. So the more frequent you eat, you maximize muscle tissue development and you maximize body composition. Those are awesome. It also allows for better management of daily energy. So you're having more energy coming in when you actually need it, which is great. And it reduces overall cravings. There's a lot of other benefits, but that's like kind of the overwhelming things that apply to today's kind of podcast. So getting back to the question is, can you build muscle while using intermittent fasting? Well, what is intermittent fasting? Let's go into that now. Now that we know a little bit about how the body works, protein and all that stuff. Intermittent fasting, everybody does this to some degree. We all fast while we sleep. I don't know. I mean, maybe you put like an IV in and get a protein drip while you sleep, but I don't think anybody does that. So you're going to fast while you sleep. So if you sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours, you technically haven't eaten for those 6, 7, 8 hours, so you fasted for a little bit. So you would say, let's just go with like perfect scenario, and let's say somebody got 8 hours of sleep. I know everybody's like, yeah, right. Let's go with 6 then. Okay. Let's go with like what was probably more common. 6 hours. So if there's 24 hours in a day, we can't extend that, unfortunately. So there's 24 hours in a day. If I slept 6 of them, that means I'm awake for 18 hours. So my eating window, my amount of time that I could eat, you would say is 18 hours. But you're probably not going to eat like the last 1 hour right before bed. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you eat within an hour of waking up. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the eating window that most people have, you could argue, is 16 to 18 hours. So if somebody slept 6 to 8 hours, that means that there's 16 to 18 hours that are available to eat. Okay? Now, intermittent fasting there's a lot of ways to structure it. There's almost an infinite amount of ways to structure it. But you could say, okay, I'm only going to eat between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. So I have a really bad habit. I don't eat enough during the day and I overeat at night. So I'm just not going to allow myself to eat anything at night. I'm only going to eat between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. and that's it. That's the only place I can have my food. So that's like an eating window. Some people don't like that because it messes with their life and they're like, how the hell am I going to get all my food in while I have to do all my work and blah, 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 blah. So they'll do an eating window of, say, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So they get up in the morning, have coffee, and then they go all damn day without any food, don't recognize how horrible they feel, and we'll get all of that, save that for another day. But they won't eat anything all day. Then all of a sudden when they get home from work, say it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, they eat all of their daily calories. Now, this is the thing is like they control the calories they're getting. They control the amount of protein they're getting. And, hopefully they're doing things like reducing the amount of sugar and whatnot, but it's controlled within that window. It's not just eat everything you can in 4 hours. So they eat a controlled amount of calories, a controlled amount of protein within that time frame. So those are two examples. And I've actually seen clients come to me with these examples. So one of them was 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Another example is 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Some people do alternating days. They'll do a whole day of fasting, then a day of normal eating, a day of fasting, a day of normal eating. There's almost infinite ways to set it up, right? Okay. So there has been some research performed around intermittent fasting in relation to muscle growth. And it seems to be that there's like a continuum, like a spectrum of results. So they've done various eating windows, say 14 hours or so in a study. But they've also compared that down to like 10 hours, 8 hours, and other variations. And what they've found is that windows of like as 8 hours or more, okay, that there isn't as much of an effect between those. So whether you have an 8-hour window, 10-hour window, 12-hour window, 14-hour window, there doesn't seem to be as much of an effect. Now, there is still an effect, so it's just not as much. When you go under 8 hours, it's really bad. Now, what's interesting is intermittent fasting has been shown to be able to manipulate body weight as effectively as any other well-controlled diet. So intermittent fasting is a great way to control body weight, but not body composition. What they found in the studies is that body composition is negatively impacted by eating windows. So body composition with intermittent fasting variations, like somebody can control their weight, but their body composition isn't going to be great. Meaning people can control their weight, but the amount of muscle versus fat that they have at that weight may not be maximized, might not be optimal. So eating windows of 8 hours or greater have kind of like similar effect, but there are small differences within those. But the effect significantly drops when you go underneath 8-hour eating windows. The lower the window, the worse the body composition. So in general, if you follow intermittent fasting, you are giving up to some degree body composition. How lean you can be at that body weight, how muscular you can be at that body weight. You can control your body weight, but you won't look or feel as great as you could if you have a smaller eating window. But it's all relative. If somebody isn't eating in a structured manner, they have really inconsistent calories, inconsistent protein, well then they can absolutely make progress with intermittent fasting, because intermittent fasting creates consistency of calories and protein that they weren't having before. So all of a sudden they will get more muscle mass, they will feel leaner. So it'll work if you're coming from nothing, because intermittent fasting does have structure to it. But if you've already been consistent with calories and protein, then extending your eating windows is going to be very helpful for maximizing body composition. So if you want to use intermittent fasting, like say you're in this example where you transition from fat loss, you're now at a body weight that you want to be at, start extending your eating window while keeping the same target calories and protein. So I'm just making up numbers. Say that you were eating, 2,000 calories with 150 grams of protein in 4 hours. Now try to eat 2,000 calories with 150 grams of protein in 6 hours. Then 2,000 calories with 150 grams of protein in 8 hours. Start to expand it, but don't eat more. Just expand the time frame in which you're eating. So you might have to go from 1 or 2 really big meals to 3 or 4 smaller meals, then 4 to 5 small meals. Okay. What you'll find is that your body composition is going to become better, even though your weight won't change. Now, it might change a little bit because you might have to change some of the foods you eat, which might change some sodium, might change some dehydration levels. So you might go up or down like a half a pound or a pound, a little bit of variableness due to the food changes, but you're going to stay relatively at the same body weight. Your deviation is probably going to be under 2%, okay, plus or minus 2%. but your energy will be better, your body composition will be better, everything will just kind of start going better. Your workout performance, you'll find, will be a little bit better. You won't have to rely on enough caffeine to kill a horse. You're just going to feel a lot better throughout the day. So it's kind of like, if you're happy with what you're getting, well, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not happy, if you want something more, then you have to do something different. Extending your eating window, if you're coming out of intermittent fasting or if you're using intermittent fasting, but you want better results, you want better body composition, or you want more muscle mass, extending your window is probably going to be helpful. Okay? So for the listener that asked this question, I would recommend, typically what I do for people like in this situation is, I don't know what your time frame is, but if you're eating, like less than 8 hour window, you can easily expand that by just having a protein shake outside of that. So if your eating window within the time of you being awake tends to be more towards the evening, have a protein shake when you get up. If your eating window tends to be more in the morning, then in the evening, then have a protein shake before you go to bed. But just do a protein shake, something quick, easy, simple, not going to wreck your day, not going to mess up your daily routine or schedule. But just add a protein shake outside of your time window, your eating window, and that's at least one step to start to help to kind of expand that out. And then you can kind of play with it and see from there if you want to start to stretch your windows a little bit more. But that's at least some information about using intermittent fasting to try to build muscle tissue. Depending on the size of the eating window, it's not really a great idea. You won't be able to have the peak body composition, so you're not going to grow as much muscle as you possibly could. You're not going to be as lean as you possibly could at that body weight if you have a small eating window. So start to expand your eating window, and you'll probably start seeing better and better results. Awesome. Okay. Well, like I said, go to the website if you want to learn how to write your own nutrition programming. And then also, if you're interested in what in the hell that person's talking about with live monthly programming and the power building program, you can again go to our website, www.brutalirongym.com, click on the live monthly programming link, and then you'll see it's a service where you get brand new training program every 4 weeks, depending on what goal you want. And then with that is also one-on-one education. 24/7, you can ask anything you want, and you'll receive a personalized answer. So you can ask nutrition questions, you can ask training questions, technique questions, lifestyle questions, anything you want. So it's a program, brand new program every 4 weeks, and you get unlimited one-on-one, 24/7 education. Pretty freaking amazing. Yes. I know I made it, so I'm really biased, but a really freaking awesome service to say, okay, I'm getting great programming, and I get to ask anything I want whenever I want and get an answer specific to me, and I get all that, and it's only $50 a month. So $50 a month, no contract. You get brand new training every single month and one-on-one education. What? Yeah. So the programming options we have are power building, which is powerlifting, but if you eat in excessive calories, you will build muscle as well. So it's powerlifting and bodybuilding combined. If you eat within a controlled manner, it's just powerlifting. So that's our powerlifting/bodybuilding program where you can combine them if you want to. Then we have female shape development, pure bodybuilding, functional athleticism, which is to be like very athletic and be able to move yourself around really well, but also be strong. So you want to be strong, be very good at like body weight type things, but you're not necessarily worried about as much muscle as you can grow. That's functional athleticism. And then we have functional longevity, which is how to age while remaining strong and mobile, but without, common aches and pains that most people deal with. Cool. So check that out again on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. If anybody needs anything, I'm always here. I'm always happy to help. Just shoot me an email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. Great. Okay, well, if you like today's podcast, please share it. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. That's the whole point of the podcast, just help people live their healthiest and happiest lives. So if you don't mind, share the podcast and help others do that. Then thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. It does have a high hosting cost every year. I give an hour to it every day. I appreciate the donations as they help cover, the hosting costs and some of the time I take. It covers what it covers. This is an expensive adventure right now, but I really do like it. I really do enjoy doing this. So thank you very, very, very much to those who do donate. It does help reduce some of the overall cost. If you want to donate, you can do that on our website at www.brutalirongym.com. Also, if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. Find us and follow us on Instagram, and find us and follow us on YouTube. Both places we're under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.